On this week's Waypoint, 3.12 patch notes, more info on Jinx, and the semifinals wrap-up of the Season 3 World Championships. What's up guys, and welcome to Waypoint, your weekly League of Legends recap for October 3rd, 2013. I'm your host, Mike Schaffner. It's that time again, another round of patch notes are here, as Riot Pwiff highlighted all of the changes that are coming in patch 3.12. Now, there are a lot of changes that I'm not going to get into about, heavy detail of fine-tuned stats and specific items. However, as always, I'm going to give you guys a quick recap of all of the major changes that I think will affect most players and the champions that they either play or play against. So here we go, patch 3.12 in 2 minutes or less. Hopefully. Jinx has been added to the build, but will be turned on at a later date. Cassiopeia's mana cost for Petrifying Gaze has been reduced, and Garen got his visual upgrade. Katarina's Death Lotus now deals more damage at later levels and has been given higher AP and AD ratios. Additionally, the channel time has been increased and the cast time delay has been removed. This means that Katarina's overall damage should remain roughly about the same even if she gets interrupted, and the reduced cooldown on the ability will mean that getting 3 kills or assists will completely reset her ultimate. Lucian's Piercing Light hitbox width has been reduced slightly, but will now lead the target when it's cast on an enemy champion. His passive Light Slinger will now also search for a target for the second shot if the target of the first shot is killed in the process. Olaf's Kit has received a significant overhaul that some would classify as an extremely hard nerf. However, while Riot did hit the Berserker fairly hard, they stated that these changes were intended to allow for more counterplay. Undertow's been given a minimum throw distance and its slow duration decreased, but the amount that it slows has been increased and the decay removed to compensate. Vicious Strikes no longer provides attack damage or spell vamp, but increases Olaf's attack speed and grants bonus healing based on Olaf's missing health. Reckless Swing's base damage was reduced and cooldown increased, but now has an attack damage ratio and basic attacks will lower its cooldown. Finally, his ultimate Ragnarok will grant passive armor and magic resistance, and upon activating the ult, it will convert the defensive bonuses into attack damage. Ryze has had his base movement speed, along with the Desperate Powers movement speed increased. Shen's Shadow Dash will now only reduce basic attack damage dealt by the taunted champion. And finally, Thresh's Death Sentence cooldown has been increased, but has been given a mechanic that reduces the overall cooldown when he lands a hook. Additionally, Thresh no longer gains mounting bonus magic damage in between chained auto attacks, and will now have to deliberately stop attacking in order for it to start winding up again. Now, that does it for all of the major champion changes, but there's still a lot more to cover in patch 3.12. However, we've got a huge wrap-up of the semifinals of the Season 3 World Championships to get to, so if you want to read up on more of the information and the changes that are coming in patch 3.12, we'll be sure to put the official link in the description below. Last week, Riot teased us relentlessly in regards to a new champion that's making her way to the fields of justice, known as Jinx. The information came out so fast that by the time we started to upload last week's episode, they had already gone into more detail about the champion's toolkit. Warming up her minigun and taking aim with a massive death launcher comes the loose cannon champion Jinx. Now, last episode I went into some detail about her personality, so this week I'll break down her ability list. Her passive, Get Excited, gives Jinx movement speed whenever a champion or tower that she recently attacked is killed or destroyed. Her Q, Switcheroo, will swap her main weapon, allowing her to alternate between using a minigun or a rocket launcher. The rocket launcher's attacks will consume mana, but gain increased range and deal increased damage to her target and nearby enemies, while the minigun will increase attack speed up to 3 times on basic attacks. Her W, Zap, deals damage and slows the first enemy hit, and her E throws out a line of grenades that will detonate and snare an enemy target. Her ultimate, Super Mega Death Rocket, is a global projectile that gathers damage while it travels. The rocket will explode on the first enemy champion that it hits and deal damage to the target as well as all nearby enemies based on a % of their missing health. Now, I can't wait to see what Jinx can do from the bottom lane, and I think it's going to be hilarious to see her secure kills from across the map with her ultimate. Riot goes into much more detail about Jinx's gameplay and backstory, so if you want to read more information, be sure to check out the official post that can be found in the description below. Whenever a new champion arrives, there's always speculation on the inspiration for some of their emotes, and for some of you with a keen eye, I'm sure you might have already noticed where Jinx got her new dance moves. Check it out.
Hey man, you're shaking it all wrong.
But shaking it's all I know.
Shh. Let me show you how it's done. Oh yeah! Yeah!
Alright, we got some semifinals to get to, but before I get into that, I want to tell you guys about a sponsor that helps make this show possible. Shutterstock is a must-have tool for anyone in the creative industry. With over 20 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. Injecting your website with some instant credibility is an easy thing to do when using Shutterstock. Whether you need still photography, stock footage, or even art assets for a website or YouTube channel, Shutterstock.com is the place to be. We use Shutterstock all the time here at GameBreaker, and one of their best features is called Spectrum. If you're looking for a certain color palette, all you have to do is define the color and keyword, and you'll get a massive search of images to choose from. You can try Shutterstock today without using a credit card by signing up for a free account and save all of your favorite images to a lightbox to review them later. Once you're ready to purchase, use the offer code GameBreaker10 and you'll receive 25% off your new account. The semifinals kicked off day one with two teams going head-to-head, fighting for their chances to take home the Summoner's Cup and the $1 million prize pool. Starting off, the semifinals were Najin Blacksword and SKT T1. Game 1 started off with good teamwork and communication by Expression on Jax, which aided in Najin Sword's victory over SKT T1. But it was Nagne on Gragas that really shined as he proved he was more than a match for the now infamous Faker by holding his own in the lane and securing a triple kill during a failed mid lane rush. Game 2 saw Sword revisiting their Jax and Gragas combo in hopes of securing another easy win. But T1 showed their ability to adapt to the situation with Impact picking Renekton and Faker going with Orianna.
Prey tried to flash it, Box goes down, good disengage there, Pumandu tanking up the turret, he's actually gonna fall, but it will be a 2-for-1 in the end.
Piglet had no trouble showing just how deadly he had become by easily securing a triple kill and the win for his team. Moving on to Game 3, having gotten comfortable in the recent victory, T1 decided it was time to go back to what was most familiar. Faker returned to Ahri and Impact on Shen, but this time it was Sword's turn to do the counter picks as Nagne on Gragas was able to outplay Faker in the lane and land nearly all of his barrels to deadly effect. But it wasn't all bad for Faker as he scored an impressive ace for T1, surviving with only a few HP left.
Expression is going to try and chase down Faker here, but with Impact to get that taunt down, will he have the finisher? No. Faker is still alive, Charm's going to land onto him, is he going to be able to walk away? Faker is still running, still damaging him, there's another taunt, and Expression goes down! What just happened here?
But with Renekton bullying Shen in the top, Impact wasn't able to make full use of his ultimate. This, along with better team fights by Sword, pushed them ahead 2-1 in the best of 5 series. Game 4 started off well in Najin Sword's favor when a failed invasion by SKT T1 secured first blood for Prey on Ezreal. Piglet, however, wasn't going to let Prey gain any more ground as he soon took advantage of a missed skill shot that was intended to finish off Zyra. Piglet went on the offensive, scoring him a double kill which pushed T1 ahead. In mid lane, Faker's Orianna was more than capable of keeping Ahri in check, and by 20 minutes, T1 had taken down their first inhibitor and Sword offered up the surrender. The final and deciding match was a close struggle as both teams seemed evenly matched. Even though T1 was able to secure more objectives than Sword in the early and mid game, it was obvious that they were beginning to be outmatched in team fights. Expression and Watch were able to sufficiently harass the enemy team, giving them a lead on kills but costing them objectives. Things looked to be swinging in Sword's favor, but during a team fight in mid, Faker on Orianna used Command Shockwave at just the right time, catching Najin sword off guard and allowing SKT to decimate the team. Taking advantage of the situation, T1 raced up the mid lane, picking off the survivors, with the Nexus soon to follow, and SKT T1 closing the series 3-2. Day 2 kicked off and we would see the powerhouses Royal Club go up against the incredible Fnatic, but during Game 1 things didn't start out well for Fnatic. A lane switch by Royal had Soaz on Zac, matched up against an aggressive Vayne Lulu combo in the top lane. Meanwhile, Godlike's Jax fared much better in the bottom lane against Fnatic's Puzu and Yellowstar. Good presence by Elise allowed Royal to gain ground and an early gold lead, winning every single lane. Fnatic made do and tried to play more offensively by trying to shut down Uzi and Tab. The first few times it would work out in their favor, but Fnatic's aggression would ultimately be the death of them. By the time the third gank happened, Royal was onto them and turned the tables by taking out Corki and Leona.
They saw them going towards Peke. They throw down the Solar Flare immediately, and they're going to come in from the side. Whites is also there, but he gets tumbed and watered. Will they continue to go in? The condemn onto Yellowstar. They continue the fights. The third bolt proc, the tumble, the attack, the shockwave, and the turret's going to come in, but Peke enters the fight.
Royal's early lead on both kills and gold were all that they needed to swing the game entirely in their favor. Game 2 fared no better for the Europeans, and losing a level 1 teamfight 3-1 was just the beginning. Cyanide on Aatrox was able to keep his team afloat for most of the laning phase and even rallied his team to come back from a big gold deficit in the mid game. With Ahri beginning to snowball, it looked as though Fnatic was starting to pull ahead, but as a team, Royal focused more on taking out turrets and securing kills. 30 minutes into the game, a fight broke out near Baron and Royal gained the upper hand. After finishing off Baron, Royal pushed up the mid lane to take out the Nexus and Game 2 of the series. Game 3, finally, Fnatic had enough and went on the offensive and locked in Orianna with their first pick. With nothing to lose, Fnatic played what was arguably their best game of the championships. Things looked bleak for Varus and Leona, taking massive amounts of damage during a gank attempt by Lucky. Royal thought that they were going for an easy double kill, but
It's a trap!
what they got was a faceful of Fnatic as Cyanide and Peke sprung the trap and demolished the would-be pursuers. Gambling on their advantage, Fnatic set up another trap in the mid lane when it looked as though a lost team fight forced them back to the base. But
It's a trap!
what looked like an easy kill for Royal turned into a four-way rodeo as Fnatic roped up and hogtied every member of the invading team, adding 4 more kills to their already huge kill advantage.
Looking getting slowed. Cyanide, he's already got 5 kills. Can he make it 6? He's going to lock on, slam down, one more shot. They're going to give it Soaz. Good God, what just happened?
Royal continued to try and regroup, but it just wasn't enough to save them. Royal couldn't set foot in enemy territory without getting completely stomped by Fnatic. By 30 minutes, Fnatic was up 24 kills to 1, and with such a huge lead, Royal had no choice but to surrender and give the Europeans their first win of the series. Game 4 was a nail-biter as it looked as though Fnatic were going to push the series into a tie-breaking Game 5. Scoring multiple aces, Royal Club was very close to taking another loss to the Europeans. But with both teams fairly even on gold and objectives, it was only a matter of time before someone slipped up. Unfortunately, that someone was Fnatic. With an attempted and ultimately failed rescue for Cyanide, they gave up all but one of their teammates, giving Royal the time that they needed to take the mid tower and middle inhibitor. A little while later, shortly after a Baron fight, Royal had what they needed to take down another of Fnatic's turrets and the bottom inhibitor. Fnatic fought them back and even held them off for a little while, but after 49 minutes, Royal battled their way into Fnatic's base and took down the Nexus, ending the series 3-1 and taking their spot in the World Finals. With an amazing early game and Fed 80 carry, Fnatic should have had no problems winning this game. However, I think that their downfall was their inability to take advantage of certain situations and end the game quickly. Had they prevented the game from lasting so long, Royal might not have had the chance to regain their footing and come back with the series. With the semifinals concluded, the two teams going head-to-head are the Chinese Royal Club and the Korean SKT T1. The best of 5 matches set for this Friday, October 4th, and 11,000 fans will gather here in Los Angeles to watch live at the Staples Center. We know that all of you will be watching, but if any of you missed the action, be sure to check back next week for our comprehensive match-by-match recap of the Season 3 World Finals. Finally, if you're paying attention to the World Championships and looking to score some free Riot points in the coming weeks, our good friends over at LOLKing are giving away free Riot Point codes for the remainder of the Season 3 Championships. To enter, all you have to do is share your thoughts or opinions about the match in the comments section of that game. Remember that off-topic comments, spam, and trolling will not count as entries, and it needs to be insightful or relevant. Once the tournament ends, LOLKing will be announcing all of the card winners and sending out your free Riot points. That does it for this week's episode of Waypoint. Be sure to check back every week on Thursday for updated League of Legends news. If you guys like this video, be sure to comment and like below as it helps spread our audience. And if you want to see more League of Legends content, recaps, and updates, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, LOLNation TV. I'm Mike Shaffnet. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Mike Shaffnet. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys at the next Waypoint.
Game Breaker TV.